Monday. I didn't make a video last week because it was kind of a sad and tired time. So I wanted to take the time to kind of come back to center, work on some stuff. And now I'm ready to tell you all about it. So let's start with knitting. I finished the body of my sweater. Mostly, you'll see in a second. I finished the body of the sweater. And I'm now working on sleeve, which I have made quite good progress on. Although picking up and then the shoulder cap, sleeve cap was quite a project. Took me like an hour just to pick up everything and get it started. But now sleeve is in progress. I'm gonna go full length, so that's 16 decreases, and I'm 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 in. So I'm almost done with the decreases, and then I will try it on, see where the sleeves are hitting, and what I want to do with the cuffs. Because, which brings us back to the body, it's supposed to have a I-cord bind off, and then you kind of carry the I-cord all the way up around the brioche neck, and it finishes it really nicely. I do love an I-cord bind off. It's just a lovely way to finish and make it look really professional. But it's rolling. So badly is it rolling. Yeah, that's with the I-cord bind off. If I unroll it, you will see that I have a lovely I-cord bind off on there, but it just rolls. So I went like 2 inches. I went around the corner and up like a little bit. And I just put on some stitch markers so I could figure out what to do with it. Popular choice seems to be among my friends, not among the pattern people. Oh, I should go on Ravelry and check the projects. See if anyone else ran into this. They must have, but popular opinion seems to be to rip out the I-cord from the bottom, put in at least a few rows of garter, and then do it again. I'm a little iffy on that because I feel like that would be the only place where there's garter on this sweater, and it might look a little bit haphazard or, you know, like a bandage. So I'm not sure. Hence why it's currently on a stitch marker, so I don't have to deal with it. I'll do the sleeves first. But the sleeves are supposed to end in an applied I-cord bind off as well. So I'm gonna have to figure it out sooner or later because the sleeve will roll too. And I don't really want to do ribbing on the bottom because it's kind of like a drapey, more A-line shape. So you don't really want it to pull in at right at the hips. So yeah, knitting shenanigans, sweater shenanigans, but at least the sleeve is making good progress. Okay, on to sewing. I finally got around to replacing Annette's drive band. And Annette is my White Family Rotary treadle sewing machine, who I adore. She's so pretty. She's over there, I'm looking at her. So pretty. So I finally got around to replacing the drive band. I will include that footage here. it. I actually did it in like 10 minutes in between meetings one day. And all the videos were like, oh, be so careful not to drop. You want to not drop your old band through because that's, you know, so you can see where it's going. Or not drop the other end of the cord through. And I'm like, what if I just tape the end of the old one to the end of the new one and then just pull it through? Worked great. So I didn't have to like get down on my knees and figure it all out at all. I just took some masking tape and connected them, pulled the old cord through, and it works. So I've been practicing treadling the machine without like any, it's not threaded, with no fabric. And with it's disengaged so that I can treadle it without engaging the mechanism of the actual sewing machine, because it's not good to sew without fabric in it. So it's disengaged so that I can practice the treadling and get the motion down without actually having to deal with the rest of it, which is good because it's not that easy. You would think, because I've been a spinner, I am a spinner, I know how to spin. I've treadled a spinning machine. Oh boy. I have treadled a spinning wheel. There would be some transference of skill to a sewing machine. Maybe there is a little bit, but I don't know if it's because it's old or because it's a treadle machine and it just behaves differently. But it's like there's a pause when the treadle is all the way reaches either the top or the bottom of its movement. It's like there's a pause and you have to like stop for a second or a half second and then keep going. Otherwise it kind of stalls and then wants to spin backwards. It's a work in progress. Just practicing on it for a while. But it seems to be going well. I did an external cleaning and did a little bit of work on the wood of the table, of which I took 0 video, sorry. And I'm hoping sometime in the next month or so to do some more research and actually clean on the inside of the machine and oil it, and then maybe actually sew some. That'd be really cool. As for the actual with fabric sewing, not just sewing machines, I got this pattern for, technically it's a dress, or it can be for a shirt, but I like the dress version. And it's sort of, they don't actually explicitly say this, but it's basically 18th to 19th century artist's smock, which I love. But I decided to make it with this lovely material that is actually the same stuff I made my bridesmaid's gown out of for Grandma's wedding. I will maybe include a picture of that here if I can find a good one. So it's that same fabric. I had extra yardage. Must have bought a lot because I had like 4 extra yards. So I had extra yardage. This is the back, but it's gathered into a yoke. And it's super boxy, which, because it's a smock, was kind of how it's meant to be. And I'm gonna make a belt, sash maybe, haven't actually decided, to cinch it in at the waist. But as winter is coming and it is getting cold here in New England, I am completely lining it with flannel. I did run into a fun thing of the flannel was quite narrow. Did not realize this when I bought it. So I ended up having to kind of mess with how I cut it and doing some piecing, which was quite period. But I was able to piece, I needed 2 pieces for the fronts and the sleeves. Ended up getting pieced, but doesn't matter, it's on the inside, nobody's gonna see it. And it's quite hefty, because it's a good bit of material. And because of the lining, it's gonna be so cozy. So it's basically a outside appropriate dressing gown, which is the theme of my winter wardrobe. And I got to play around with the Singer's buttonhole foot again. So it has a lovely, that doesn't look like anything, but it's a hidden buttonhole placket. So I made, really truly, they're buttonholes for all the way down, and then it turns into a nice hidden placket. So that was fun. I've never done that before. I've made buttonholes before, but to make a hidden button placket, it took me a minute to wrap my brain around it. I did it wrong the first time, and then I looked at it and was like, that can't be right. So I went and looked at pictures of other people's finished, and that made it work. So that's lovely and really quick to put together, honestly. I just have to do the sleeves and the pockets and the collar, and then sew on a whole bunch of buttons. But that's super fun, and it's gonna be so cozy. Less fun sewing. I ripped my duvet cover. Photo here. In a really obvious spot. It's towards the middle, right, like halfway up on one side, so it's not like I can just flip it and put that at the bottom and nobody will see it. Nor is it high enough to be covered by pillows. It's a really awkward spot. So I'm going to try to mend it. I have a feeling it's gonna be really visible though because of its pinstripiness. We'll see how it goes. It might be a failure, and it might be that my duvet cover turns into fabric stash and I get myself a new one. We'll see. It's a bummer though, because I really like that duvet cover. I think they still sell it, so I could get the exact same one again, which I probably would if I have to. But I'm going to at least try to mend what I have already. We'll see. I'll let you know how that goes. On to the not at all fiber-related content of our discussion. I finished the chairs. My dining room set is officially done, as noted by, see, it's painted. I will put a picture of that here. So I finished that, not last weekend, but the weekend before? 2 weekends ago? I don't know. Time is irrelevant. It is done. It looks great. My carport is once again a carport and not like a Progress wood shop, which is nice. I was able to repair everything. They don't squeak anymore, which is great. That is a good sign to me that I tightened and fixed what needed to be fixed. So I'm quite happy there. I got a really cool thing. So, you know this, I really like Facebook Marketplace because it's just like, it's thrifting, but digital, so I don't have to leave my house, especially good in ye times of plague. So I look a lot. I have never actually bought anything from it before, but I find really neat things to see. I can no longer say I've never bought anything from it before because perfectly, I had been planning to go to the beach at East Haven because I have Fridays off. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go to the beach. It's, end of the season. I'll bring a book, sit in the sand. Hopefully there's nobody there. And then I saw that somebody in Ansonia, which is, right around the corner from East Haven, had a ton of antique stamps, like an antique stamp collection. And they were getting rid of it for $10. And I kind of thought it was a typo because it was a lot of stamps. But I messaged the guy, that was the price, it was still available, and I was like, awesome, can I get it on Friday? He was wonderful, went, picked it up. Some amazing stamps. Like, I chose 3 packets to show you. There are 2 full drawers of like the old card catalog drawers. So they're about 2 feet long, full of packets of stamps, and some of them are like bulging, and they all have dates. And I do not know if these are 100% accurate because I'm not a stamp collector, but there are some really cool stamps and they're from all over. So those are American and these are antique German. And then there's this one, which the date on the packet is 1861. And it looks like it came off of, it's on a little envelope. So it looks like that's how it was mailed. And if it actually dates from 1861, focus. There we go. If it actually dates from 1861, that's wicked cool. Yeah, one from Kilroy, Pennsylvania on July 21st. To Mrs. Emma, can't read the last name. But I like old stuff, so that's cool. For the most part, I'm sure you're wondering of why Leah now has an antique stamp collection when Leah doesn't care about stamps other than they mail stuff. They're cool, mostly because I'm planning to use them in like my cards, paper art crafting. And they're a really interesting touch. I will not be using stamps that date from the 1800s in paper art. I might see if I can find somebody who actually collects stamps and who would be interested in the old ones, if I can send them to them. Because it seems a shame for me to have this. It's cool, but I don't value this like somebody who collects stamps probably would. So I might look into that further. And then the other ones are just like from the 40s, 50s, 70s, 90s, last year. So those I don't mind using so much because they're not as valuable and there's a ton of them. So very cool, super cool stamps. It's kind of fun to peek into somebody else's passion. We all know the collection of yarn is part of my passion, but it's cool to see somebody else's. 1861, that's crazy. I have no idea if that dates are actually accurate at all. I might have to do some research. But they're pretty and they're colorful. It makes me happy. This is gonna be a long one, sorry. 2 weeks of updates. Last bit. This was the first week of the Great American Bake-Along with mixed results. I forgot that the British and pretty much everywhere that's not the, us, bakes using by weight, not by volume. And as you probably remember, our kitchen scale doesn't really work very well. It stays on long enough to tear it and then it's off. I replaced the batteries. It still stays on long enough to tear and then it's off. So I did a whole lot of like Googling, 150 grams flour in cups. Yeah. One was like 0.96 cups. I'm like, so it was very ish on my part for this recipe. So given the ishness of my measurements, turned out pretty well. Yes, I used a bottle of wine as a rolling pin and a small Tupperware container as a cookie cutter. Don't at me. Well, I don't love the way the biscuit part turned out. I think because there was too much butter in it, and I know there's too much butter in it because of the texture of the dough, but because there's too much butter in it, it kind of fried the pistachios, which are cut up in the dough. So the pistachios are almost burnt, which is unpleasant, but there's a vanilla buttercream and vanilla buttercream and then raspberry jam in the very middle, So altogether as a mouthful, it's very good. Next week I will have a properly functional scale, and this will be less-ish. Then again, I also needed to preheat my oven to 56 degrees. 180 Celsius. It was 356 degrees, which American ovens don't do because it's all in increments of 5. 355 was close enough, I guess. Okay. That's it. That is 2 weeks of updates, Mom. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.